Welcome, my alumni friends. My name is Jim Wright. I'm the Director of Alumni Services, and welcome back to another Recovery Made Real Facebook broadcast that we host every Friday. And we've been very, very fortunate to have this ability to see you through this virtual format, in addition to the fact that we don't want to ever, we always want to be here. And please, if you can, share with us comments, or if you're going to join the broadcast, or if you see us after, that's great too. Today's topic is interesting. You know what? Father's Day is actually June 20th, and we are doing a little feature on an alum from Springfield that I've gotten to know virtually, which is pretty awesome. And today we're going to talk a little bit and share from my own experience, and also our Springfield alum, and celebrating your father figures. What are your father figures? This can be very complex. When I go back and think about the good with my dad, who has passed away, but the fact was that he had a passion to go sailing and take the family sailing and be us. I don't know, I think we were together when he took time off during the summer after the 4th of July for about 2 to 3 weeks. But also he was a challenge. And I think there were a lot of times that I thought that, hey, this is something that I don't want to be part of. But as you know, I'm in long-term recovery, and it's something that we both had to figure out. I'll say this just quickly, is that I remember that my dad looked at me and says, I'm not going to drink alcohol anymore, and I'm not going to participate in your parties, Dad. And he looked at me and he said, why? But it was interesting. So anyway, we're going to move on here. We're going to, I got to know Wally D, who is, like I said, a Springfield alum, and he has been sober over 2 years. And boy, oh boy, what a story. I liked his bio where he said that, I've transformed, or I've actually turned around mentally, really 180%. And that is good. That's exactly what happens in recovery. However, we get there. So let's welcome Wally D.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Wally. It's a pleasure to meet you and talk to you. I was asked to do this, and I stayed up last night and the night before, just kind of thinking about it. As Jim said, my father, he was a violent alcoholic. And believe it or not, I loved him dearly. I yearned to be around him. We had a farm, all kinds of hogs and different things. And I just enjoyed being around my father, even though it was just all alcohol. So today, I would like my topic to be lemonade out of lemons. Okay. Now, my father, let's get back to that. He was a very violent man. He never laid a hand on me, ever. I watched him physically abuse my mother. I watched him fight in taverns. And it was very common for me to be in a tavern with him playing pool and not realizing, what exactly my life, what the path was going to be. And interestingly enough, I thought that was the way men should be. I thought that men should control women. I thought that men are supposed to drink, just like the movies were supposed to go to work hungover. I believed all of that crap where you see these guys wake up and they don't brush their teeth. They get dressed and they put on a bulletproof vest and they're cops all of a sudden. They've been drinking all night. I thought all of that stuff was a reality. Until as I got older, and I thank God I never got into a lot of trouble, but I had some run-ins with the law, especially when I was in the Marine Corps. We would go out fighting after a good night of drinking and wake up in the LA jail. Of course, it was a bunch of jarheads, so they just let us go. And again, we thought that was a norm. So basically from childhood to military to adulthood, I always thought that drinking was the norm. It wasn't until my first bout with blacking out, saying things, putting my hands on my wife of 20 years. And don't get me wrong, I am not proud of saying this stuff, but it's the truth and somebody needs to hear it. Because let me back up just a little bit. If any man that's drank and tells you he's never put his hands on a woman, excuse me, there are a few, but a lot of us have, and let's just be honest. The road to recovery is just covered in diamonds of honesty. I'm telling you, that's not me today. Yep. But yeah, I would push, I would shove, I would do all kinds of what I call wicked things that I thought was normal. And then after the first separation we had about 18 years ago, I went to rehab. Yeah. And I thought, well, I'll just do this to get my wife back. Well, it did work. Well, then along came my daughter. And when she was very young, I remember, and I've asked God to forgive me over and over for this. I remember slapping my wife one night in a drunken stupor. And my daughter was probably 7 years old. And she looked at me and she said, "Daddy, I saw you hit mommy in the face." And I have never, ever, ever forgot that. Tough stuff, people. Tough stuff. And my daughter now, she is 24. She's a lieutenant in the Army. And she works right under the general. And we are the best friends. So I'm just getting just a little bit ahead. And when I sobered up about a little over a year into it, I asked her, I said, sometimes we suppress things. I said, but do you remember telling me that when I hit your mother that night? And I didn't even remember hitting her, but she had a bruise on her face, so I did hit her. And she says, "No, I don't remember that. I don't remember saying that." And she wouldn't lie to me. But the thing is, alcoholism takes such a toll on the family environment, the health of the family, even your pets. Believe me, even your pets know when you're drunk and they want to get away from you. I can remember coming in the house drunk and my dog would be glad to see me and his ears would drop because he knew I was drunk and I might hit him for no reason. And so anyway, my daughter said, "No, I don't remember saying that to you." And I said, "Yeah, you did say that to me when you were 7." And I, began to get teary-eyed because a lot of things like that, I know we're supposed to put them in the sea of forgetfulness. By the way, I am a Christian. I do follow Christ, and I'll get into that a little bit later. And I said, sometimes we suppress things because they're so hurtful and harmful. And she told me, she says, "Dad, since you've been sober over 2 years," she says, "there is nothing I can see about you that's wrong." And she gave me this little half heart with the other half, and she makes it clear. She says, if I ever decide to fall in love and you don't approve, it's just not going to work if they're not like you. And that is moving from the atmosphere and the background that I came from. So, to get back to that topic of making lemonade out of lemons,
Right.
there's something positive in every negative situation. Maybe a DUI, getting thrown in a drunk tank, whatever the case may be, there's something positive if we're willing to learn from it. And what I learned from my father was when I hated him after he died because I never got the opportunity to tell him. I remember when you hit that extension cord, and I remember it like it was yesterday, and the lights went out when you hit my mom in the face. But I didn't get to tell him that. I came home. He had cancer. I was still in the Marine Corps. I came home and I saw him and he died. And I went back with a heart full of just hate and disgust for him. Well, over the years, I've literally learned to forgive him. And now I really look at it back to the lemonade out of lemons. He did teach me something. He taught me that it was okay to hit women. He taught me it was okay to get sloppy drunk. He taught me it was okay to make a fool of myself. But then I learned that he taught me all of that stuff was wrong. That was all wrong. So he did teach me something, that what he taught me was wrong. Lemonade out of lemons. So now I look back at that, and I have a 21-year-old son now who's, he doesn't drink anything, but he's 21. He goes through his stuff. But, and I talk to him all the time about when you get frustrated with your wife, the last thing you want to do is turn to alcohol, because I will tell you now, it does run in the family. It is an illness. And I will tell you that and I told my daughter the same thing, and she does not drink. I said, because you don't know which way it'll go. You don't. I said, but I tell you now, the buck stops here. It stops here. In the last 2 years, over 2 years now, my wife and I have not had a single argument. We've had disagreements. We all do.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, I can sit down with my wife and say, you know what, this issue is really not worth an argument. Let's just talk about it. Because here's a key point when you go to rehab, if you're serious, if you want this. And let me tell you this, I've been to rehab 8 times. I wrote the definition of insanity. Because every time I went, I thought, I got this. Back to that vodka. Every time. And every time it was a little bit worse. And some of you may know Mercedes, some of you may not, but she has been just so instrumental when I was in Gateway. And by the way, I did not like being in Gateway. But we do what we need to do. And I was serious about my recovery. I had not hit rock bottom, and I hear that a lot. I will tell you, you don't have to hit rock bottom. You don't. I hear that around the tables all the time. I did not lose my job, and I have a really good job, and I thank God for it. I didn't go to jail. My body was so accustomed to alcohol that I could probably walk a straight line with the light if I ever got pulled over. But I was kind of smart not to drive around at night. But to give you a little background, my drinking was so bad that my whole day at work was figuring out how I was going to drink. So at the time I was in the office. Now I get to work from home. Yay. Don't ever want to go back to the office. Anyway, so I had a styrofoam cooler in my back seat. I would get some ice from the ice machine at work on hot days like this. I would put my handle in that ice, and I had a styrofoam cup sitting in my cup holder in my vehicle. So as soon as 4:30 hit, and I would literally time myself how long it took me to get from the building to my parking spot. That's how bad it was. And I strived to beat 60 seconds just so I could pour my vodka in that styrofoam cup and get some of it in my system so I could be what I thought was me. I could come home, I could deal with my, at the time, high school children. I could deal with my wife. I could deal with anything as long as I was me. And I was just ever so wrong. This last bout, and by the way, people, this is the longest I've stayed sober. And I have never been proud of myself. I've always been the kind of guy that pulls somebody out of a fire and I'm gone. I want no pedestals. I want no pats on the back. That's been ingrained in me since my military days. And a lot of times people will tell me, and this is something you may want to kind of take hold of, it's okay to give yourself credit. A lot of times, even though horrible things pop up in my mind, things that I've done, some of the things I've talked about during this session, they're real. But guess what? Those things aren't Wally anymore. That wasn't Wally. There's a reason alcohol is called spirits. Hear that. When you drink alcohol, you're allowing entities into your mind. That's why we do things that we would not normally do when we're under the influence. Because I can look at a bridge going up. Let's say we're in Manhattan. If I was drinking, I bet you I can make that jump. Sober, well, the bridge is starting to go up. You might as well wait before you end up in the river, dummy. But you would try that stuff. When I was drunk one night, I climbed a 200-foot pine tree. I don't know why, but I was just up there waving around, holding on to the very top of the branch. You know, pine trees go up. Just things like that. Now, you think about that stuff, that's not normal, people. That's not normal. So today, my children, they come to me. They ask me for advice. They ask me, my daughter, she's on her way to Africa. She's asking me, I'll get you a ticket if you'll fly to Africa. I'm like, well, you don't have to give me a ticket. I'll fly. I mean, my family is tight now. My wife can leave home. I'm at home now all by myself, just me and my dog who lays over there asleep all the time. He's got the best job in the house. And she doesn't worry about coming home and smelling alcohol on me. I love to fish. I'm an outdoorsman. I love to go to the range. She does not have to worry about me smelling like alcohol. She doesn't even get in my face anymore. She never went to Al-Anon, so sometimes things flare up, but here's the deal. That was her choice. That did not deter my path of staying sober, because in the real world, Jim could say something to me and I could find offense, because in my mind, I'm already looking for a reason to drink, people. Let's be real. When we get out of rehab, the world has not changed.
It's true.
You're not going to win $1 million. You will go to Walmart and somebody may curse you out. Somebody may give you the finger on the road. The world doesn't change. Nobody cares that you're sober. Nobody. It only means something to you and your mental view and the way you change the personal growth. Now, when I'm at work, I don't think about alcohol. I do my job. And it's okay. Monday morning comes. I don't complain. I thank God I've got a job. I never suffered during COVID. It's all kinds of things to be grateful for now. I can cut my grass without having to have alcohol in my system. Things that are simple. I can go fishing without a cooler of beer and vodka and fish all day. I'm active in my church. So those are things I encourage you to do, especially you fathers. Get active in church. And I always say, get around men that are not doing as well as you. You get around men that are doing better than you, sober men that are doing better than you. My sponsor goes to my church. He's a multimillionaire, so I'm not going to mention his name, but it's true. And he's doing obviously better than me, and I stick to him like glue, like glue. I open my church on Sunday mornings, a church of several thousand people. I get to unlock that church. Sounds simple, but to me, that is a godsend. I get to turn the alarm off. I get to walk in when there's nobody there. And you know what, people? I'm trusted. Today, I am trusted. And that means the world to me. So it wasn't an easy road to get where I'm at, but what I'm saying is it can be done. And I encourage all of you, not just the fathers, the mothers out there, seeing if you're staying sober. But for the fathers today, learn to love your wife, learn to love your children, but above all, learn to love yourself. Don't go to rehab for anybody but you. Thank you.
That's great, Wally. Thank you so much. One question I had, we had Jackie said thank you, Wally, and Julie was also and said thank you. Did you have it sounds like a really good relationship with a sponsor. Are there any other mentors, like any other family? Because your dad's gone, my dad's gone. Like an uncle, or do you have other, related family that you consider mentors?
Actually, I do. Most of my immediate family is gone. I hear I don't look my age, but I'm older than I look. So I mean, all of my immediate family is gone. But I will tell you, my wife and my kids, my daughter and my son are my what's the word I'm looking for? They really lift me up. For instance, when my first year came up, we went to Osaka, and they just said, well, we're just going to go out to dinner. And I had no idea. And I'm sitting there around the hibachi table.
Right.
The guys bringing out all the stuff, making all the fire come up and all that groovy stuff. And all of a sudden, my pastor shows up. Then a couple of guys in leadership from the security team show up. I'm a part of several different organizations in my church to keep myself busy, because when the mind wanders is when you really get yourself jacked up.
Correct.
But anyway, and so after the pastor and a couple other people showed up, I went, something's up. And I had no idea. Well, my family was celebrating my 1 year. I hadn't even thought about it. I knew the 1 year was coming up, but again, back to what I said earlier, it just did not. I'm just glad to be sober. So yeah, they're my heroes, my family, because they knew something I didn't, and they actually saw something that I didn't. My dad's been sober for a year. That's awesome to them. So, good question.
Yeah, I agree with you. I was able to show my mom the little coin we get in the 12-step program, but I was afraid to show my father. And then I remember having relationships in that first year of recovery that ended. I don't know how to say it, because I realized it was very toxic when you look at this illness or I should say the being multiply addicted to so many substances. And your story about the cooler with the vodka and the cup was my routine. You hit me. I've almost got 28 years of sobriety here, but at the same time, I was like, man, I remember when I used to do that by myself. I got to get right before I can function with others. So thank you for sharing that, because I know that reaches a lot of people. And I also believe that the process that you've gone through, everybody personalize, or we say, customizes your recovery to be able to stay busy. So you have you caught any fish lately?
Oh, last weekend I caught 54.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Fish all week, almost every weekend I fish, and I was telling you today was just a holiday that popped up, and I was
Right.
trying to get up this morning, but it was thundering a little bit. That normally doesn't disturb me, but I wanted to make sure I was at home for this because this was important to me too. I can always go fishing tomorrow morning, which I will. It's not going to
Well,
go away.
and okay, so you're going fishing, right? You have
Mhm.
a cooler of soda or drinks that you like, and your family is in this place of trust. I have to admit that personally, I have I remarried and I have a Brady Bunch of young adults now,
Mhm.
and guess what? They realize that for watching me, that they don't drink
Yeah.
and they
Yes.
chose not to drink or drug, and I also married somebody that never had a drug in her life, so I was kind of like, and I think you're right, the higher power, my understanding, put me in a whole different place. So where are you now today? I mean, what um, you apparently have shared with us that you haven't had this much time before. Are you scared? Have you been tempted? Do you have any cravings? Anything like that would mess with your time
Oh,
recovery?
absolutely, absolutely. Um, I have a Jeep, for instance, and I keep the top off of it for summer. And that was one of my biggest haunts. I would cruise around Lake Springfield. I live right on the lake here. And that was my favorite time to drink. Now, with that trust, I have learned that it's okay. With the trust with my family, I've learned that it's okay to keep up certain brick walls. But one thing I refuse to do, because I do believe it will lead you directly back to alcohol, is when you stop doing the things you love. Fishing, hunting, whatever it may be.
Right.
I refuse to do that. I had to learn how to do these things sober, or I wasn't going to stay sober, because fishing is something I've done since I was 8 years old. I enjoy driving my Jeep around the lake on a Saturday afternoon when the sun's setting. And the cravings do come. I'll get halfway around the lake, and it'll
Yep.
just pop in my mind. You know what?
Maybe.
Yeah, everybody trusts you. You
Yeah.
can go to the liquor store right over there and you can get a half pint of vodka, and you can drink that before you get back home and nobody will ever know. So I keep this little plastic card in my wallet. And if that thing overcomes me, it gets less and less too, people. It starts fading. It happens less and less. The more you operate in things you enjoy doing sober, the less the enemy will attack you. And I look at that card when I get those cravings, and I remember being in Gateway, how many times I threw up. The food I couldn't keep down. As I sobered up, the reality is everything you've done comes to the forefront because you don't have alcohol to hide behind anymore. I
Right.
hid behind a lot of alcohol when guilt and shame came up. Do I really want to be sick anymore? Are you proud of yourself? And I look at that card when those cravings come and they go away, because I know me. If I drink a half pint, if I drink one of the little bitty personals, it'll be a week and I'll be back to a handle. I know me. And the enemy is a lie. I will tell you that.
Yep. All right. Well, Wally, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Thank you again for coming on and sharing your very honest and very real story in recovery. I just want to share a couple things. We have the Gateway Connect app.
Mhm.
This is a wonderful tool to stay connected to people that you have, went through treatment with, or just being able to connect to us with all the events that we're doing this weekend. We are so grateful for that. And the way to connect to this free app is the G-Connect from Gateway. And that'll take you right to Google Play and to the Apple Store. So again, that is something that is our future. It's amazing what digital technology can do and how we can stay connected. Also, you probably saw that earlier. We do happen to have our annual reunion, which is going to be in Chicago, Saturday, October 9th. And I know that Wally's going to be involved. And we're so appreciative of that. And it's going to be in Chicago. So please put that on your calendar. We're working out obviously the program for all of our speakers. In addition to, it's going to be a fun alumni time to be able to share and be able to bring people that have worked so hard to keep us connected. And otherwise, happy Father's Day, Wally.
Thank you. You too.
I think that it's amazing how fast this year's moving, and we are coming back into in person. So I know I'm going to see some grown children this weekend. And but otherwise, thank you again for being on today. And everybody have a wonderful and healthy weekend. And we'll talk to you next week on a fishing boat. Okay, thank you.
All right. Take care.
All right.